So post-Brexit, we had our government coming out to say that we still believe in global Britain. We're going to go out there and sign all these trade deals, and they have. And it's been quite impressive. But not every single trade deal has been smooth. Not every trade deal has been in the interest of Britain. And also there's a fundamental clash between consumers and the industries in each country. So sometimes free trade deals help the consumers, but not really the industries. And obviously protectionism will help the industries, but not the consumers because products will get expensive. This one is about the trade deal between the UK and Australia. This one is slightly controversial. So in this video, we're going to go through the aspects of the trade deal that basically we have people coming out now who were involved with the negotiations who are now telling us that Boris Johnson's government essentially sold us out to Australia and we are the losers in this trade deal. So obviously this is the subjective opinion of one side. Consumers will be better off because things will be cheaper, but not the farmers. And this is the biggest problem with these sort of trade agreements. Now, this is from Politico saying how Boris Johnson sold out Britain's farmers over dinner with the Australian Prime Minister. As the UK-Australia trade deal comes into force, those close to the negotiations reflect on their dramatic and farcical climax. All right, let's see what's going on here. So, London. It was a dinner like no other. Two prime ministers sat face to face across a grand Westminster dining room. The first ever free trade agreements between their nations, all but complete. On the table that evening were bottles of fine Australian wine, a rack of Welsh lamb, and the future of the UK farming industry. So, this whole article has been written by talking to people who were involved in those talks. They're saying, obviously, this was in the spring of 2021, so 2 years ago, and when obviously ended when the Prime Minister apologised to Scott Morrison, the Australian Prime Minister, for Britain's decision to join the EU almost 50 years earlier. So he apologised, said, yeah, we abandoned you and the Commonwealth, so that was good, fine. But then it says, observers saw it as a jaw-dropping concession when he signed away a greater access to Britain's beef markets than had ever been conceived by his senior officials. Boris Johnson's international trade secretary at the time was Liz Truss. She was livid when she learned of the agreement over breakfast that following morning as the leaders prepared to announce the deal before the world's media. Two people familiar with the events said this to Politico. So even Liz Truss was outraged. So we had the Australian's chief negotiator telling Liz Truss that your boss has already conceded the whole kingdom. Now, this is obviously according to one former senior UK minister involved in negotiations. He said basically this is the conversation that happened between Dan Tehan and Liz Truss. So it is quite fascinating because Liz Truss wanted to reopen the talks. And she, even when she became Prime Minister, she wanted to renegotiate. But of course, they brought her down before she even had a chance to do it. For the next 6 months, it says, until the deal was formally signed that December, the UK government lawyers tried to paper over the Prime Minister's last-minute giveaway to Canberra with limited success. The deal, which came into effect this week, remains highly controversial among the British farming community. They say it was a real breach of trust and confidence for farmers. Now, this is according to the NFU president, the National Farmers Union. The anger is still visceral. Politico also spoke to 5 senior people close to negotiations on either side of the table to reconstruct the crucial final hours before the UK-Australia trade deal was struck, but all of them were given anonymity. They said they couldn't really talk. So basically, a spokesperson for Boris Johnson described the whole story as rubbish, saying it never happened. But the problem we have with the people like Boris Johnson is that they just deny everything until they get caught. So if this is true, and the farmers have been completely abandoned, there's always a balance between making sure a free trade agreement help the consumers, absolutely, and the economy, but not at the cost of completely selling out your own industries, including farming industry. Farmers are already battling with the globalist entities over their existence. So we have the ideas coming out of Davos that has been implemented by the European Union and the European governments, including the Dutch government, completely going against the farmers because they want to take over their land in the name of net zero and completely destroy their livelihoods. And we don't have to eat meat in the future. We're going to have plastic meat or insects and bugs and stuff. And this is a big problem. We already had Brexit. Technically, we left the European Union. So we thought, at least when it comes to economic policies and social policies in our own country, we could now protect our industries, like farmers, for example, like manufacturers and all the others, right? We can sign free trade deals. I am pro free trade deals. But firstly, I'm not in favor of trade zones. That's one. But bilateral agreements are brilliant. But you have to make sure you negotiate them the right way. This is the same thing that Donald Trump has been saying all these years. When he became president, he said, well, I'm going to renegotiate NAFTA, the agreements between Canada, Mexico, US, and all that. He was attacking free trade agreements. So people on the liberal side were saying, well, this man is protectionist. He doesn't like free trade deals. But that wasn't the case. He was criticizing those deals because he was saying America are losing out. America comes first. So I'm going to renegotiate a better deal so everybody wins. And he did it. But we have to do the same thing. We don't have to become a complete protectionist and anti-trade. You can negotiate better deals. You don't have to be that desperate. So this is the issue that clearly they're reporting that happened under Boris Johnson's government. Liz Truss was trying to save it. She wasn't allowed to. And now the deal is in place. And Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt, I'm pretty sure they're not really concerned about any of this because they got other things to focus on, I guess, like WhatsApp messages. Now, make sure to share this video so people know about this story. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.